two traders, same chart, same entry, same moment in time. Yet one walked away with $120,000 in profit, while the other sank $40,000 into the abyss. How is that possible? It wasn't the market. It wasn't the system. It was the person holding the mouse. The storm didn't come from the candles. It came from within. Imagine the market as a vast ocean. The same waves, the same winds, the same storms hit every ship at sea. And yet some captains bring their crews home laden with treasure, while others never return. What separates them is not the ocean itself, but how they choose to steer. Their decisions, their temperament, their ability or inability to command themselves when the sea rises against them. Here's the paradox. Most traders spend years searching for the perfect indicator, the secret setup, the hidden formula that will guarantee profits. But the truth is far more uncomfortable. The market is not testing your system. It is testing you, your fear, your impulses, your logic, your patience. And until you recognize the personality behind every click, you will always feel like you're drifting without a compass. Welcome to Trading Psychology Stick, where we dive deep into the mind behind the charts. Quick disclaimer, what you're about to hear isn't financial advice, it's psychological exploration. Your trading decisions are yours alone, but the patterns we'll uncover, those might just change how you see every trade you'll ever make. In this journey, you will meet 4 trader personalities and discover how they merge into the 5th, the fearful conservative, who clings to safety so tightly that opportunity slips through their fingers, the impulsive gambler, who dances with fire until they are consumed, the analytical architect, who builds magnificent systems that sometimes crumble when chaos takes over, the Zen master, who remains calm no matter how wild the waves, and finally, the 5th persona, the integrated trader, the captain who unites all these qualities into mastery. By the end of this voyage, you'll know which captain you are, and more importantly, how to evolve into the one who commands the storm instead of being swallowed by it. Because in trading, the market doesn't care how smart you are, how many charts you've studied, or how many courses you've bought. The market only cares about who you are when the storm hits. So, welcome aboard. Take your place on deck. Feel the salt wind on your face and the rolling waves beneath your feet. As you listen to these words, you might begin to notice patterns in your own trading that you've never seen before. This isn't just a video, it's a mirror, and what you'll see reflected back may shock you, because the ocean never lies and neither does your trading account. Now, let's set sail. Section 1. The hidden driver of every trade. The chart doesn't kill your account. You do. That's the hard truth most traders never want to admit. Every blown stop loss, every oversized position, every sleepless night staring at the screen, it all comes back to one thing: the invisible driver behind your trades, your personality. Think of your trading platform as a mirror. Every time you click buy or sell, the market doesn't just see a trade, it sees you. Your fear shows up in wide stops and tiny positions. Your greed reveals itself in oversized bets. Your need for control leaks out in overanalyzing. The chart is neutral, price is neutral, but you bring the storm. I once knew a trader who hit 3 consecutive wins in a single week. He walked into the office with his chest puffed out, already planning which car he'd buy next. He believed he had cracked the code, that the market was bowing to his genius. But within a month, he had lost not only his profits, but half his capital. What happened? It wasn't the system. He was running the same setup he always had. What changed was him. The moment his personality tilted from disciplined to arrogant, the market didn't forgive him. Here's the first key insight. Every system, every indicator, every edge is useless if your personality sabotages it. Most traders think the market is out to get them. They blame news events, algos, or manipulation. But the reality is far more unsettling. The market is just a giant stage where your inner character performs under pressure. It doesn't expose your intelligence. It exposes your temperament. So, let me ask you this. Have you ever noticed how your trading account seems to echo your moods? When you're anxious, you cut winners too early. When you're angry, you chase losses. When you're euphoric, you risk more than you should. And when you're afraid, you freeze and watch opportunity sail past. That's not coincidence. That's you projected onto the screen. If this feels uncomfortably familiar, good. It means you're finally seeing what most traders spend their entire careers avoiding. Because until you admit that you are the problem, you can never be the solution. Take a moment and think about your last losing trade. Not what the market did, but what you did. What emotion was driving that click? If you're honest enough to answer that question, you're already ahead of 90% of traders. And yet, once you see this, a door opens. You begin to realize that trading is less about predicting the next candle and more about predicting your own reaction to it. The market is not an enemy, it is a teacher. Each loss, each win, each hesitation is a lesson written in real time about who you are when tested. But this is only the beginning. Because if the hidden driver of every trade is your personality, then the question becomes, which personality is steering your ship right now? Is it the cautious captain who refuses to leave harbor, or the reckless gambler already setting sails into a storm? Let's meet them one by one, starting with the trader who builds walls so high that opportunity can't climb over them. Section 2, the fortress of fear. There's a certain kind of trader who never blows up. Their accounts don't vanish in a blaze of reckless leverage. They don't chase the latest hype coin or double down on a revenge trade. No, their danger is quieter, invisible. It's the kind of danger that comes not from losing, but from never daring. This is the fearful conservative. Picture him at his desk during the great Bitcoin bull run of 2017. Headlines screamed about fortunes being made overnight. Friends who knew nothing about markets were suddenly crypto experts, bragging about 10-bagger returns. Meanwhile, the fearful conservative sat frozen. His charts were glowing green, his signals aligned. Yet he whispered to himself, "What if it crashes tomorrow?" So he waited, and waited, and waited. By the time he finally placed a trade, the market had already left the harbor. He missed the entire voyage while standing safely on shore. The harbor feels safe. The ship is tied to the dock, the waves are calm, and the wood beneath your feet doesn't sway. From here, the sea looks intimidating. Dark swells rolling beyond the breakwater, winds howling with unseen force. The fearful conservative convinces himself that staying in the harbor is wisdom. After all, ships that never leave the dock never sink. But here's the cruel irony. Ships are not built for harbors, and traders are not built for endless hesitation. This persona has strengths worth admiring. The fearful conservative is a master of capital preservation. His risk management is meticulous. He's the kind of trader who will survive when others go bust. He never bets the farm, never ignores a stop, never lets greed pull him too far from the dock. In a world where countless accounts vanish daily, his fortress mindset is a shield. But that same fortress can become a prison. He studies setups until his charts look like spiderwebs, paralyzed by analysis. Every opportunity feels like a trap. Every green candle a potential bull trap. Every breakout a likely fake out. And so, paralyzed, he misses wave after wave, like a sailor afraid to raise the anchor. Here's the truth bomb. Risk aversion isn't the same as risk management. One keeps you alive, the other keeps you stagnant. The fearful conservative avoids drowning, but he also avoids sailing. And in trading, the refusal to risk is itself the greatest risk, because the tide of opportunity waits for no one. Take the story of a trader I'll call Marcus, who lived through the 2017 Bitcoin run. His friends doubled, tripled, even multiplied their accounts by 10. Marcus? He sat on the sidelines, watching chart after chart, waiting for the perfect entry. Every candle was too high, too risky, too dangerous. "I'll wait for a pullback," he muttered, night after night. The pullback never came. Months later, when Bitcoin peaked near $20,000, he finally bought. Days later, the market collapsed, and his first real position was a loss. By avoiding the storm for so long, he entered the ocean at the worst possible moment. Have you ever done this yourself? Sat there watching price surge higher, your heart pounding, but your finger frozen above the mouse? You tell yourself you're being smart, that you're waiting for confirmation. But deep down, you know it's fear. Fear of loss. Fear of being wrong, fear that you don't truly belong in the ocean. If you recognize yourself in this description, if you've watched more trades than you've taken, pause this video for 5 seconds and ask yourself, what's the real cost of all those missed opportunities? Not just in money, but in experience, in learning, in growth. The answer might surprise you. Here's your first practical drill. The next time you identify a solid setup that meets your criteria but feel frozen by fear, take the trade with half your usual position size. Just half. This isn't about the money, it's about breaking the paralysis. You're teaching yourself that action, even cautious action, beats perpetual hesitation. The market doesn't punish fear immediately. That's what makes it so seductive. You can stay on the sidelines, clutching your capital, and still feel safe. But with time, the cost reveals itself. While others compound, you stagnate. While others learn through action, you stay in theory. Your account balance may look preserved, but your opportunity cost grows heavier than any drawdown. So here's the paradox. Safety becomes the trap. The fortress you build to protect yourself slowly turns into the walls that keep you from freedom. But while the conservative hides from the storm, another trader rushes toward it with arms wide open, convinced he can dance between the lightning bolts. Section 3. Dancing with fire. If the fearful conservative never leaves the harbor, the impulsive gambler does the opposite. He sets sail without a map, without provisions, without even checking the weather. For him, the sea is not a threat, it's a thrill. He loves the roar of the waves, the adrenaline of the unknown. Every candle is an invitation, every price spike a siren song calling him to jump in. In 2012, J.P. Morgan's London Whales scandal painted this personality on the grandest possible stage. A trader named Bruno Ixel placed massive, highly leveraged bets on credit derivatives. When the market shifted, instead of cutting his losses, he doubled down, again and again. The losses compounded into billions. Over $6 billion vanished into the ocean of overconfidence. What destroyed him wasn't lack of intelligence. It was the gambler's mindset whispering, "Just one more push and I'll recover everything." The impulsive gambler thrives on action. He doesn't wait for confirmation. He doesn't question whether the setup is solid. If there's movement, he's in. He can sometimes catch explosive moves that cautious traders miss. His strength lies in his fearlessness, his willingness to act when others hesitate. But that same strength is a sword with no hilt. It cuts him as often as it cuts the market. Inside his head, the thoughts race. I can't miss this move. If I don't act now, I'll lose my chance. The market owes me for that last loss. This time, I'll get it back. His finger slams down on buy before the thought is complete. He's not trading the market. He's trading his emotions. And the market always wins that duel. It always starts the same way. Small wins, fast wins. The impulsive gambler feels unstoppable. One trade turns $10,000 into $20,000. Another doubles it again. Soon, he's sitting on $80,000 and telling himself the ocean has finally bowed to his will. He isn't nervous anymore. He's euphoric. And euphoria is the most dangerous storm at sea. I once watched a young trader ride this exact wave. He made 4 winning trades in a row, each larger than the last. His friends called him a prodigy. His social media filled with screenshots of gains. He started calculating how quickly he'd hit $1 million. But then came the first loss, a sharp drop that sliced $15,000 in minutes. His chest tightened. His hands shook. But instead of stepping back, he whispered the 3 words that have sunk more traders than any market crash combined. Just this once. He doubled down, convinced the next candle would reverse. It didn't. Another loss. Another whisper. Just this once. Again. Again. Within 3 days, his $80,000 was gone. The ocean had reclaimed it all. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Adrenaline feels like confidence. But it's really just fear in disguise. Fear of missing out, fear of irrelevance, fear of watching others win while you stay behind. And so, the gambler burns his capital like fuel, roaring ahead until the tank runs dry. Have you ever caught yourself doing this? Opening trade after trade, chasing every green candle, feeling unstoppable 1 hour and devastated the next? That's not strategy, that's compulsion, and the market doesn't reward compulsion. It punishes it with brutal efficiency. Before we continue, here's a challenge. Think about your most impulsive trade, the one where you jumped in without thinking. What was the result? And more importantly, what emotion triggered that jump? Was it excitement, revenge, or the desperate need to be right? Understanding that trigger is the first step to taming it. Here's your practical antidote. Implement a forced pause rule. When you feel the rush to enter a trade immediately, set a timer for 60 seconds. Just 1 minute. During that minute, write down why you're taking this trade. If you can't articulate a clear reason beyond "it's moving," close the chart. This simple pause can save you from countless impulse disasters. The impulsive gambler is like fire. In the right place, controlled, fire gives warmth and power. Unchecked, it devours everything. The trader who cannot tame this fire will eventually be consumed by it. But there's another trader who believes he can eliminate fire altogether, replacing passion with pure logic, chaos with perfect order. Section 4. Blueprints of the Market. Where the gambler leaps without looking, the analytical architect does the opposite. He builds, he measures, he calculates. For him, the ocean is not chaos, it's a problem to be solved, a formula waiting to be cracked. His charts are immaculate, layered with indicators that pulse like instruments on a captain's bridge. Fibonacci retracements, moving averages, volume profiles, each line drawn with the precision of an engineer drafting blueprints for a cathedral. At his best, the analytical architect is disciplined, methodical, and almost immune to the rash temptations that sink others. He waits for confirmations, he respects stop losses, he journals every trade. When asked why he didn't enter a position, he doesn't shrug or say, "I wasn't feeling it." He flips to a page in his notebook and shows you the exact rule that told him to stand aside. This persona can thrive because markets reward process, and few are more process-driven than the architect. But strength has its shadow. The same reliance on systems that makes him consistent also makes him brittle. History offers a brutal reminder. Long-term capital management, run by Nobel laureates and financial geniuses, believed they had engineered a risk-proof model. Their equations accounted for every probability except the one that mattered. In 1998, when the market moved in ways their models deemed impossible, they lost billions and nearly brought down the global financial system. Their ship was grand, but it was built for a sea that existed only in theory. The ocean doesn't care about your equations. It doesn't care how many years of data you've crunched, how many Monte Carlo simulations you've run, or how perfectly your system backtests. One rogue wave can flip the ship of even the most brilliant engineer. This is the flaw of the analytical architect. He believes markets can be fully mapped, that if he just has enough data, he can reduce uncertainty to near zero. But markets are not machines. They are living ecosystems of fear, greed, politics, and chaos. And chaos cannot be domesticated. Here's the crucial insight. Data can map the ocean, but it cannot calm the storm. The architect often forgets that the market is not a static equation, but a living, breathing organism. In his quest for certainty, he sometimes builds systems so optimized to the past that they crumble in the present. The blueprint is beautiful, but the sea does not care about beauty. Have you ever over-engineered a system, back-tested it until it shone with impossible perfection, only to watch it fail the moment you traded it live? That's the architect's curse, mistaking complexity for control. He builds walls of numbers and logic, forgetting that the market's favorite trick is to behave in ways logic cannot predict. Here's the breakthrough moment. Precision can blind you. The sharper your model, the easier it is to forget that reality is messy. The architect mistakes probability for certainty, and when reality refuses to obey, he freezes. His system doesn't tell him what to do next, so he does nothing, or worse, he clings to the failing model, convinced the sea must eventually align with his blueprint. Your practical adjustment. For every rigid rule in your system, create an exception protocol. What will you do when the market breaks your model? Plan for the impossible, because in trading, the impossible happens twice a month. Write down 3 scenarios where your system would fail, and decide now how you'll adapt. This isn't abandoning structure, it's making your structure flexible. Yet, the architect teaches an invaluable lesson. Structure matters. Without a framework, a trader is tossed like driftwood. The danger is not in the blueprint itself, but in believing it's invincible. To master this persona, one must marry the clarity of logic with the humility of uncertainty. And sometimes the answer isn't more analysis or more action, but something far more difficult: stillness. Section 5. The Stillness Edge. Picture the trading floor in October 1987, the day of Black Monday. Phones rang off the hook. Voices shouted orders into chaos. Brokers screamed as markets crashed around them. But in the midst of this storm, Paul Tudor Jones sat calmly. He wasn't immune to fear. He could feel the panic in the air like electricity, but his face was still, his posture steady. While others drowned in the tidal wave, he quietly shorted the market, walking away with one of the greatest trades in history. This is the Zen master. He doesn't see trading as a battlefield, but as an ocean of probabilities. Wins and losses are not personal victories or defeats. They're simply waves passing under his hull. He knows he can't control the tide, so he doesn't try. Instead, he learns to sail with it. The Zen master knows how to sit still. He can watch the market move for hours, days, even months without flinching. To outsiders, it looks like he's doing nothing. But that nothing is everything, because behind his silence is discipline, the refusal to be pulled into the noise. There's a story of a trader who went nearly 3 months without placing a single order. Friends mocked him. You call yourself a trader? You're just wasting time. But when the right setup finally appeared, he entered with calm precision. That one trade made him more in a week than most of his peers had earned all year. While others bled capital chasing crumbs, he waited for the feast. The Zen master's strength lies in his emotional detachment. He doesn't chase, he doesn't panic. He doesn't feel the need to force the market into giving him what he wants. Instead, he waits. Patient, measured. He treats each trade like a coin toss in a long series, never clinging to one outcome. And because he doesn't drown in emotion, he recovers quickly from losses. Where the gambler spirals after one red day, the Zen master shrugs, adjusts his sails, and moves on. Here's the powerful truth. Calm is not weakness, it's power. In trading, emotional control is the rarest edge. Indicators can be copied, strategies can be taught, but inner stillness, that cannot be stolen. It must be cultivated. But this is the paradox of patience. It can be your sharpest sword or your dullest anchor. Used wisely, patience keeps you from unnecessary battles, saving your strength for the moments that matter. Used poorly, it becomes passivity, a kind of spiritual paralysis that looks noble, but costs dearly. Here's the essential distinction. Patience is not waiting. Patience is choosing. It's not about sitting idly while the market sails away. It's about knowing exactly when not to act, so that when you do, your action carries weight. True patience is active, not passive. It's the quiet confidence that opportunity always returns, and you will be ready when it does. Have you ever confused patience with procrastination? Told yourself you were waiting for the right setup when really you were just afraid to pull the trigger? That's the shadow side of the Zen master. The line between discipline and avoidance can blur. And if you cross it, patience stops being power and starts being excuse. As you begin to understand this stillness, you'll start to notice something profound. The market stops feeling like an enemy and starts feeling like a teacher. Each movement becomes information, not emotion. Each pattern becomes possibility, not pressure. Your stillness practice. At the start of each trading session, sit for 2 minutes doing nothing but watching price move. Don't analyze, don't plan, just observe. Notice how price has its own rhythm, its own breath. This simple practice trains you to see the market as it is, not as you want it to be. It's the difference between forcing trades and finding them. The Zen master doesn't avoid risk, he accepts it. He knows losses are inevitable, just as storms are part of the sea. But he also knows no storm lasts forever. That's why he survives, while others burn out. Yet no trader is purely one persona. We are all these captains, shifting with the tide. The question isn't which one to become, but how to unite them all. Section 6, the inner alchemy of trading. Every trader wants to believe they belong to one camp. I'm disciplined. I'm cautious. I'm patient. But the truth is, you are not a single archetype. You are a shifting tide of personalities, each emerging when the market presses the right emotional button. Think back on your own journey. Have there been days when you were the fearful conservative, frozen while opportunity sailed away? Other days when you were the impulsive gambler, slamming into trades with no plan? Times when you were the analytical architect, buried in charts and code, convinced you had solved the market's puzzle? And maybe, just maybe, you've tasted moments of the Zen master, when everything slowed down and you felt detached, untouchable, calm. The reality is, no one is pure. Each of us is a blend of these personas, shifting like a ship, adjusting sails in the wind. And that's not weakness, that's human. The mistake comes when you get stuck in one mode, unable to switch, chained to a single way of being. Alchemy was once thought to be about turning lead into gold, but the real alchemists weren't chasing metal, they were chasing transformation. They believed the furnace was a mirror of the soul, that by purifying matter, they were purifying themselves. Trading is no different. The market is your furnace. Every loss, every win, every hesitation, it all burns away the illusions and shows you what you're truly made of. Think of fear. In its raw state, it paralyzes, locking you in the harbor like the fearful conservative. But when refined, fear becomes discipline. It sharpens your stops, controls your size, keeps your ship afloat when others sink. Fear is the lead that becomes gold if you learn to transmute it. Think of impulse. Left unchecked, it destroys like wildfire, the downfall of the gambler. But tempered in the furnace, that same fire becomes energy, the courage to act quickly when the moment demands it. Without impulse, you'd hesitate. With it refined, you strike like lightning. Think of logic. For the architect, logic can become a cage, trapping him in models that fail when chaos reigns. But transformed, logic becomes clarity, a compass that points true north even when the storm clouds hide the stars. And think of stillness. The Zen master waits, sometimes too long, sometimes until opportunities vanish. But when purified, stillness becomes patience with purpose. Not passive waiting, but active readiness, the poised archer holding the bow until the perfect moment. Here's the liberating truth. Trading mastery is not about erasing these personalities. It's about integration. You need the caution of the conservative to protect your capital, the boldness of the gambler to seize big moves, the structure of the architect to build consistency, and the calm of the Zen master to weather storms. Each alone is flawed. Together, they form a complete captain. Have you ever noticed how your biggest breakthroughs didn't come from learning a new indicator, but from enduring a painful loss that forced you to change? That was the furnace at work. The market doesn't just test your strategy, it refines your character. Every time you blow up, freeze, overthink, or overtrade, the heat rises. You either burn or you evolve. Here's the transformative insight. You are not meant to kill off these personalities. You are meant to melt them down, strip away their impurities, and fuse their strengths into something greater. That is the inner alchemy of trading, the process of becoming more than the sum of your flaws. So, let me ask you, where are you stuck? Which persona dominates your ship? Are you hiding behind safety, burning in chaos, lost in data, or drifting in stillness? Once you see your reflection clearly, you can begin to choose, instead of being unconsciously controlled. The traders who survive aren't those who avoid the furnace. They are those who step into it willingly, who let the market strip them down and build them back stronger. And when you've learned to integrate all these aspects of yourself, something remarkable happens. You become something new entirely. Section 7. Designing your hybrid trader persona. Imagine standing before a forge, the fire glowing, the tools laid out, the raw materials of your trading personality, fear, impulse, logic, patience, are all there. The question is, will you let them stay scattered, or will you craft them into a weapon sharp enough to cut through the market's chaos? This is where you stop drifting between personas and begin designing your hybrid trader. The process begins with recognition. Step 1. Identify your dominant persona. Maybe you lean toward the fearful conservative, always hesitating. Or maybe you're the impulsive gambler, leaping into trades without thinking. Awareness is the compass. Without it, you're steering blind. Step 2. Select a complementary persona to balance your weakness. If you're overly cautious, borrow a spark of the gambler's boldness. If you're reckless, anchor yourself with the conservative's caution. If you're buried in charts like the architect, learn from the Zen master's stillness. Integration begins by pairing your flaw with its opposite strength. Step 3. Create a checklist. Before you place any trade, pause and ask, am I acting from fear, impulse, logic, or calm? Which persona is driving right now? Which trait from another persona can balance this decision? This checklist isn't just paperwork. It's your lifeline in the storm, a moment of clarity before the tide pulls you under. Step 4. Test and refine. No hybrid persona is forged overnight. You try, you fail, you adjust. Each trade is feedback. The market will tell you if your design is stable or if the metal is still brittle. Over time, the rough edges smooth, and what remains is a personality that bends without breaking. Here's your integration exercise. For the next week, assign each trading day to a different persona's strength. Monday, practice the conservative's risk management. Keep positions small. Tuesday, channel the gambler's quick execution on one clear setup. Wednesday, apply the architect's analysis to plan your trades. Thursday, embody the Zen master's patience. Take only the finest setups. Friday, attempt to blend them all. This deliberate practice accelerates integration. Have you ever thought of trading this way? Not as a quest for the perfect strategy, but as a quest to forge the perfect self. Because once you see that, every trade becomes practice in self-mastery. The charts stop being just numbers and start being mirrors. Step onto the deck long enough, and you'll realize something unsettling. The market is not your enemy. It is your instructor. Every storm, every calm, every unexpected swell, it all arrives with one purpose: to reveal who you are beneath the mask. The sea doesn't care about your excuses. It doesn't care about your ego. It doesn't even care about your goals. It teaches by pressure, by chaos, by silence, and by pain. And the question is never, will the market test me? The question is always, am I willing to learn? Think about your worst loss. Not the numbers, not the chart pattern, but what it showed you about yourself. Maybe it revealed your fear of missing out, the way you chased the candle. Maybe it showed your inability to accept being wrong, the way you doubled down. Maybe it exposed your need for control, hiding behind a system that wasn't built for chaos. Losses sting, yes, but each one is a teacher in disguise. Every red day is a lesson written in blood and capital, saying, here is where you are weak, fix this, or drown. Here's the profound realization. You don't trade the market, you trade yourself. The charts are simply feedback loops, mirrors reflecting your discipline, your patience, your resilience. Every drawdown is an exam. Every rally is a test of humility. Every flat sideways chop is a lesson in endurance. The market is the dojo, and you are both student and sparring partner. The traders who survive the longest are not those who avoid failure, but those who treat every failure as tuition. They respect the sea. They study it. They bow to its lessons even when the lessons hurt. Because they know the market doesn't reward perfection, it rewards adaptation. Section 8, the fifth persona, the integrated trader. There comes a moment when a captain is no longer defined by one trait. He is not just cautious, not just daring, not just logical, not just calm. He is all of them, fused into a whole. This is the fifth persona, the integrated trader, the one who can adjust sails with instinct, balance risk with precision, and act with boldness when the storm demands it. He is not trapped in any single persona because he has absorbed them all. Consider George Soros in 1992, the night he shorted the British pound. To most, it looked insane. The Bank of England was defending the currency with everything it had. But Soros combined the best of every persona. He had the conservatives' respect for risk, hedging his position carefully. He had the gambler's audacity to place billions on the line. He had the architect's structure, backed by rigorous analysis of macroeconomic flaws. And above all, he had the Zen master's calm, unmoved by the noise, waiting until the exact moment the tide turned. The result: he made $1 billion in a single night, and the Bank of England conceded defeat. This is what mastery looks like. The integrated trader doesn't fear losses, nor does he chase them. He doesn't cling to blueprints, but he doesn't discard them either. He knows when to wait, and he knows when to strike. His edge isn't one technique, one system, or one mindset. It's the ability to switch fluidly between them, to embody whatever the market demands in that moment. The fifth persona is not a mask you put on. It is not a role you play. It is the trader you become when you stop resisting the parts of yourself and begin uniting them. You are cautious when caution is wisdom, bold when boldness is demanded, structured when structure is needed, still when silence is power. You don't fight between these selves anymore. You flow between them. Every voyage changes the captain. You set sail as one person, and by the time you return, you are another. Trading is no different. You may begin as the fearful conservative, chained to the harbor, or the impulsive gambler, chasing storms, or the analytical architect, building blueprints that crumble in chaos, or the Zen master, calm but sometimes too passive. But if you endure long enough, if you learn from each, you discover something extraordinary. This is the ultimate paradox of trading. You spend years thinking the market is your enemy, that every loss is an attack, that every win is proof of mastery. But in truth, the market was never fighting you. It was shaping you. Each wave, each storm, each calm was a sculptor's hand carving away the excess until only the essential remained. The fifth persona is that essence. Not a trader who controls the market, but one who controls himself. Here's the ultimate revelation. The market doesn't reward rigid identities. It rewards adaptability. A trader who insists on always being cautious will stagnate. A trader who insists on always being bold will explode. A trader who insists on always following the system will be broken by chaos. Only the one who flows, who becomes many without losing himself, can master the sea. Have you ever felt glimpses of this state? A moment when you acted without hesitation, neither fearful nor reckless, where discipline and intuition work together like two oars rowing in sync. That's the integrated trader within you, knocking at the door. The question is, will you let him in? Here's the final truth. Success in trading is not about becoming someone else. It's about evolving into the fullest version of yourself. The fifth persona is already within you, waiting beneath the layers of fear, impulse, logic, and silence. The market doesn't hand you this identity, it reveals it, one painful, glorious trade at a time. As you begin to integrate these personalities, you'll notice something beautiful. Trading stops feeling like war and starts feeling like art. Each trade becomes a brushstroke, each decision a note in a larger symphony. You're no longer fighting the market, you're dancing with it. So, let me ask you, who is steering your ship right now? Which persona holds the wheel? And more importantly, are you ready to let them all dissolve into the captain you were meant to be? Because once you embrace the fifth persona, the ocean stops being a battlefield. It becomes your path. The waves no longer scare you, they guide you. And you finally realize you were never just learning how to trade, you were learning how to master yourself. You've just sailed through the four trader personalities and discovered how they merge into the fifth. You've met the fearful conservative, the one who clings to safety until opportunity sails away. You've faced the impulsive gambler, whose fire burns bright but often burns out. You've walked with the analytical architect, who builds grand systems only to watch them collapse when chaos laughs at his blueprints. You've breathed with the Zen master, who teaches stillness, patience, and emotional detachment. And finally, you've glimpsed the fifth persona, the integrated trader, who embodies them all and rises above. This journey was never just about markets or money. It was about you, about seeing that every trade is a mirror, every win and every loss a lesson, every hesitation or impulse a clue to the person steering the wheel. The charts you stare at every day are nothing more than reflections of your inner state. And mastery is not about conquering the market. It is about mastering yourself. So here's the challenge. Which persona resonates most with you right now? Be honest. Comment it below. Declare it. Because the act of naming it is the first step in transforming it. But don't just tell us who you are, tell us who you're becoming. Which trait will you cultivate next? Will you bring more courage to balance your caution, more patience to temper your fire, more structure to guide your intuition? That simple decision, shared here, is your first act of integration. And here's something deeper to consider. Look back at your trading journey and identify the moment when you shifted from one persona to another. What triggered that shift? Was it a massive loss, an unexpected win, or simply time and experience? Share that transformation story below, because your journey might be exactly what another trader needs to hear today. Your final integration challenge. Write down one rule from each persona that you'll implement immediately. From the conservative, I'll always use a stop loss. From the gambler, I'll take decisive action on A-plus setups. From the architect, I'll journal every trade. From the Zen master, I'll wait for price to come to me. Post these 4 rules where you can see them every trading day. This is your personal trading constitution, your North Star when the storms hit. Join the conversation. This channel isn't just a place to learn strategies. It's a community of captains forging themselves in the same storm. By sharing your persona, you'll find others on the same path, facing the same winds, fighting the same doubts, and together, we'll grow stronger. Remember this, the market doesn't destroy you. It only reveals you. And the trader you become depends on whether you accept that reflection or turn away from it. The fifth persona isn't someone else. It's you, evolved. So take a breath, step to the helm, and look out at the endless horizon. The ocean is waiting. The journey is yours. And if this voyage has shown you something about yourself you didn't see before, let us know in the comments. Your insight might be the lighthouse another trader needs to find their way home. Welcome to Trading Psychology Stick, where we don't just trade markets, we trade ourselves. And in that trade, we always come out richer than before.